Donald Trump has already lost Virginia, and he is not going to get it back. Donald Trump, because he fails the commander-in-chief test, which is one of the top items for the people of Virginia, can forget it. That's basically one reason why Hillary Clinton has stopped pouring money into Virginia, because all the polling suggests that Trump will not be able to get Virginia back as long as she puts in her standard ground troops effort in getting out the vote. The same situation can be said of Colorado for different reasons. Here is the Face the Nation interview with two pollsters, which are going to go into depth as far as Donald Trump's failure to be able to appeal to the majority of voters in Virginia.
An analysis of recent polls, including our own Battleground Tracker. We're joined by CBS News Director of Elections, Anthony Salvanto, and Editorial Director at Atlantic Media, Ron Brownstein. Anthony, let's start with Virginia. Hillary Clinton up 12 over Donald Trump. What's happening there?
Well, it's the commander-in-chief test, John, and you guys were just talking about it. What has happened is that has become the top criteria for voters in Virginia, just as we saw in the national polls this week. And it's so important because, number one, Hillary Clinton is leading on it. The majority are saying that she is prepared to be commander-in-chief. A majority is now saying that Donald Trump is not. And what has happened is that is swamping all the other metrics that we see. So Clinton is leading the state. She's out to a big lead, even though she is doing poorly. There's really no other way to say it, on measures like being able to tell the truth, on looking out for people like you, things that the Democrats were trying to advance out of their convention. But it's been out of that convention, trying to establish Donald Trump as not prepared to be commander-in-chief, is clearly succeeding. And that may be the lasting part of this. And bounces come and go, but that has clearly taken center stage.
Ron, so it's a referendum on Donald Trump at the moment. That's certainly one of the things the president was trying to do when he says he's not fit.
Right.
But is this merely a Democratic confection, this question about temperament and ability to be commander-in-chief, or has that been with us for a while?
No, it's been with us. I mean, look, I think the two biggest obstacles he faces in this race are consistently, again in the Washington Post, ABC poll today, 60% of the country say he's not qualified to be president. 60% of the country say he is biased against women and minorities. And Virginia is kind of a fascinating place to look at this, John, because, you know, we're all kind of accustomed to thinking of Ohio as the state that best encapsulates the overall country and electorate. I think you could make a case that Virginia is now that state, because Ohio hasn't followed the diversity changing the rest of the country. 74% of the voters in Virginia in 2012, according to the census, were white. It was the same nationally. Obama's margin of victory was almost identical. And what you see in Virginia is the structure that is consolidating around this race nationally, which is three parts. Donald Trump is doing very well among those white working class voters. He has a big lead in Virginia, but he is facing historic deficits among the growing number of non-white voters. 91-1 among African Americans in one poll this week, 92-2 in another.
Meaning
and then,
Donald Trump only has 1% or 2% among African Americans.
And then the fulcrum of the race, which is that he is historically underperforming among these college-educated, white-collar, white voters. Mitt Romney won them by 10 in Virginia in 2012. In your poll, Donald Trump is losing. Both of the national polls out in the last couple of days, he's losing among college-educated white voters. Why is that so significant? In the history of polling going back to 1952, no Democrat has ever won college-educated white voters, and they are the voters most likely to say among whites that he's not qualified and that he's racially biased.
So as goes the Commonwealth, so goes the nation. Anthony, what about other states that you looked at?
Well, you look at here Arizona. Now, this is a reliably Republican state. And as the senator mentioned, it's been a while since a Democrat has won it. You know, Trump is up. He is up only 2 points. And what I think you see, if you look at the larger picture, is this kind of tests the limits of the coalition that Donald Trump is so far trying to build, which is to say, you go out to Arizona, and 80% of Hispanic voters say that they are more motivated to vote in this election than they have been.
Which Flake also mentioned, yeah.
Right? And so that is part, you know, Donald Trump is clearly trying to make inroads across the upper Midwest with white working class voters, certainly trying to cut into traditionally Democratic states there. But there's not a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot of margin for error in doing that. So if he has a bad week, like he has this year, this week, you see that some of these other states might start to shift a little bit towards Clinton, and maybe that forces him to defend red territory.
So, Ron, what Anthony's saying is he's not only doing poorly with Hispanics, but he's encouraging them to get to the polls. What does this mean? I mean, do you see in terms of the larger map, if he's having to have trouble with Arizona, gosh, that's at that.
Arizona is making the rubble bounce. That's like the 360th electoral college vote for Democrats. Look, you know, we have the 11 states that have basically been the swing states at least since 2004 in modern politics, and they really fall into two buckets. You have one group of Rust Belt swing states, New Hampshire geographically distinct, but then Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And these are states that are preponderantly white, they're older, and they're more blue collar. That is where Donald Trump, has focused and probably has, if there is a path for him to 270, is through there. Then you have the second group of swing states, which are in the Sun Belt. You have Virginia, North Carolina, Florida in the southeast, Colorado and Nevada in the southwest, potentially Arizona and Georgia looming beyond that as states that could conceivably come into play. And these are states that are younger, more diverse, and in the white population, more white collar. That is the coalition that causes the most trouble for Trump. If he's losing by 12 in Virginia, North Carolina is clearly at risk because it's on that same continuum, not quite there. A receding tide lowers all boats. Right now, he's in a weaker position on both sides, but eventually, the Midwest, the Rust Belt, is where he's got to find some breakthroughs.
Yeah,
20 seconds.
The poll watcher's guide to this week, there is not a giant shift of Republicans over to Hillary Clinton. The Republicans are kind of drifting towards more unsure, more undecided, which suggests that they could return.
So Hillary Clinton's shoring up her base. Donald Trump's losing something in his
And
base.
Donald Trump.
Okay. All right. Thanks to both of you.
All right, so I thought that was pretty informative, but I think Virginia is definitely gone. I think Colorado is definitely gone. And as I had stated in previous videos, keep your eye on Georgia. Georgia is going to tell a big story if the Republicans cannot hold that.